Listening Library presents History Smashers, Ancient Egypt by Kate Messner, narrated by Emily Lawrence. You've probably heard stories about ancient Egypt. Tales of golden-crowned pharaohs and linen-wrapped mummies, hidden tombs with secret curses, a mysterious language that was lost and then found. But only some of those stories are true. For centuries, archaeologists have been sifting through sand, trying to sort the history from the myths. Each new discovery adds another piece to the puzzle and offers a more complete look at the people of this ancient civilization. But there's still much to learn. When we talk about ancient Egypt, we're talking about a huge period of time. The age of the ancient Egyptians stretches from the first king to unify Egypt, around 3150 BCE, to when Egypt became part of the Roman Empire in 30 BCE. During that span, hundreds of kings ruled Egypt, and the civilization flourished. This ancient culture gave the world one of its first writing systems, a 12-month calendar, new practices in medicine and farming, and even early versions of board games and bowling. And then, of course, there's the amazing architecture. Egyptian kings ordered craftspeople to build temples, tombs, and pyramids to preserve their legacies. Centuries later, when archaeologists uncovered those monuments and the artifacts preserved within them, stories of the ancient kings were excavated from beneath the desert sands as well. Ancient Egypt still fascinates people around the world. But along with that curiosity has come a lot of misinformation and even more questions. Did ancient Egyptians really build those pyramids? How could they have done it without modern technology? Who, or what, killed King Tut? And is it true there's a curse on his tomb? Listen further to unravel the mysteries of the ancient kings and queens and smash the myths of this civilization that lasted for more than 3,000 years. Chapter 1: People of the Nile. You might think a book about ancient Egypt would begin with the great pyramids and the kings who built them. But the main character in Egypt's story isn't a person, it's a river. This civilization's history begins with the Nile, the longest river in the world. Thousands of years ago, the climate of what is now Egypt began to change. Areas that once received regular rain dried out. Cattle herders who used to roam the land were forced to move to the Nile Valley because it was the only place where water was available. On a map of Egypt with the Mediterranean Sea at the top, you would notice that Lower Egypt is in the north, at the top of the map, and Upper Egypt is in the south. That may seem upside down, but it makes perfect sense if you understand that the Nile was at the center of everything in Egyptian culture, and it runs from south to north. That's why Upper Egypt is at the source of the Nile, while Lower Egypt is where the river empties into the Mediterranean Sea. Each summer, the Nile flooded, spilling over its banks. When the water receded, it left behind terrific, fertile soil for farming. Ancient Egyptians called their home Kemet, which translates to the Black Lands, and they referred to the dry land on either side of the valley as Deshret, which means red lands. The entire community revolved around the Nile's annual flood. People's lives depended on it. If the waters rose too high, or not high enough, it would be a bad year for farming. The Nile's calendar. Ancient Egyptians built their calendar around the Nile. They recognized 3 seasons: Akhet, when the Nile flooded; Peret, when the waters receded and crops grew; and Shemu, or harvest season. Each season included 4 30-day months, totaling 120 days per season, 360 days in all. Then they added an extra 5 days to bring the number to 365 days, the same as the calendar used in most of the world today. By around 3600 BCE, nearly all of Egypt was desert, and everyone who lived in the area had to settle near the river. People started building walled towns to protect their resources, and local rulers came to power in various regions. During that time, Egypt was a mishmash of territories. These communities traded and fought with one another before they eventually came together under one king. So, who managed to unify Egypt? We don't know the whole story, but archaeological discoveries offer some clues. There's evidence of huge walls built around 2 of the towns, Nut and Nekhen, which probably means there was fighting. People don't usually bother building walls when they get along with their neighbors. Also, archaeologists found many skeletons with head injuries in Nekhen, which suggests these individuals may have died in battle. Exactly what happened is a bit of a mystery, but we do know that when the fighting ended around 3150 BCE, Egypt was unified under a ruler named Narmer. British archaeologists learned of the king in the late 1800s when they discovered his name inscribed on a pallet that Narmer likely had created. The Narmer pallet is a ceremonial tablet that shows one of the earliest images of an Egyptian ruler, as well as the unification of Egypt under a single king. On one side of the pallet, Narmer is wearing the white crown that symbolizes Upper Egypt. On the other side, he's wearing the red crown of Lower Egypt. The decoratively carved stone of the Narmer pallet shows the king smiting, or hitting, his enemies with a big, heavy club called a mace. Egyptian kings did a lot of smiting in art. In another image, Narmer is depicted as a bull trampling his foes. That's how bulls smite people. Will the real king of Egypt please stand up? Centuries before archaeologists found the Narmer pallet, a Greek historian claimed that he had identified Egypt's first king. Herodotus loved studying the past so much that he became known as the father of history. His writings say the first king of Egypt was a man called Min. However, a later historian and Egyptian priest, Manetho, said that Menes was the first king. So, who was it? Narmer, Min, or Menes? The answer is probably all of the above. Most historians today believe these were simply different names for the same man. Narmer was the first in a long line of kings to rule ancient Egypt over its more than 3,000-year period of civilization. To make that enormous stretch of time easier to study and talk about, historians divide ancient Egypt into kingdoms, or time periods. In between were intermediate periods of instability when different regional rulers were vying for power. Timeline of ancient Egypt. Pre-dynastic and early dynastic periods, Archaic period, before and up to 2686 BCE. Old Kingdom, 2575 to 2150 BCE. The time of the Great Pyramid and Sphinx. First Intermediate period, 2160 to 2055.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?